可以开始吗 Can I start there, Chen?
Okay, start.
我们可以开始吗？
开始啊。
开始。Okay, I want you guys to pull out your notebook. We're going to share a note, okay? In the note is 4.1, okay? Again, each note you need to have 那个名字 and this is the topic. 4.1 Programming languages. So in your notebook, right, programming language, we're going to learn about the different type of programming language. Okay? And then we'll have a look at some exam questions. Every note should have the title. Because I will look at your notebook and then I will also give you some feedback. And what I need is title and date. What is today's date there, Wendy? What is today's date? March?
3rd of March.
Yes. Why is it important to put the date and title, Wendy, on your notes and code? Even the programmers, they also put date when they write the code. Why is this important?
Remember that the date. Remember that when did you do the work?
对, it's to remember when you did the work, 对不对? Because when you're sharing your code, 你给别人, or you're sharing your notes to someone else, I can say, this was unit 2 or unit 4, and when you did it. Okay? So even when you're doing code, it's important to have the title, the author, done. Okay? So today what we're going to do is, I'm going to scroll down here. I want you to look at this 图片. How many programming languages 在这个图片你看过了? There's C++, Java. I want to know how many you 听说. How many of these languages have you 听说? You don't need to know how to do. I want to know how many of these have you seen before or heard. Okay? Look, for example, we have Python. Have you ever heard about Python? 有没有?
有。
这个是一. I want you to 看1分钟 C++. I want you to 算 and think in your mind how many do you know or 听说. Okay? Yes, how many do you know here?
JS, Ruby, Haskell, Rust, Go, and PHP.
Okay.
And JavaScript and C.
How many is that?
I forgot.
Okay, how many do you 听说? How many did you hear there, Flux? These are different type of programming languages. I know that you know C++, right? I know you know Python. Have you ever heard about anything else? Yes? Assembly, yes. Jushu, how many do you know? Give me a number. And check, how many of these have you heard? Have you heard about Java? 听说吗?
Yeah.
Okay, Java. Python. We all know Python. 2. Have you ever heard about C++? No? Okay. So we got 2 there. How many Floss? How many have you heard before? Yes, HTML. Yes. HTML. Oh, very good. So give me a number. How many do you know? About 5. Okay? When I was small, the language that I learned was called BASIC. And then when I got older, I learned about Turing. And then I learned C++. I did HTML. These are languages 我没听说,我会. I know how to program. I use these. So when I was there's Visual Basic. When I was in high school, I learned this. There was no Python, really, when I was in school. Okay? And then later, after C++, HTML, I learned about Python. And then after Python, I learned Java. I taught a little bit about Java before. Let me see here. There's so many things in there. Those are the most ones that I know, okay, that I spent the most times. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But you know what? I know at least 6 languages, but all languages are 差不多。如果你会一个 if you know Java, if you know C++, 他们都是差不多。They all have 如果 they all have the if statements, right? They all have input and output. Agree or disagree? The only difference is in pseudocode they use output, but in Python they use what? What do they use in Python? They use print. 对不对？但是 the function 是一模一样。Okay? And so that's why I like programming, is because when you learn, it's like a koyu. When you learn one language, you know them all. Okay? And so we're going to study today different programming languages. Okay. Now, what programming language is this? 它的名字叫什么？ What language is this?
Python.
这个是 Python. 你怎么知道? Well, look, it says 如果 and it used print. So I already know. And this symbol is the Python symbol. Okay? But I want to ask you a question. Ched, can computers understand English and Chinese?
No.
他们不会. All computers do not understand English and Chinese. So computers do not understand Python. 他们听不懂. So what do they need to do, Wendy? Computers do not understand 8. They do not understand. So what do they need to do?
Transfer the letters into the lower languages.
Correct. We need to have a translator. We have compilers and translators that take the code and 变它 into Artinger. Okay? The language that the computers can only understand is 100, right? And so, what language is this there, Floss? Move, add, pop. 我们学过 this. This is called assembly. And so, we have a triangle. We have 3 levels of programming. We have low level. 你可以写 in your notebook. 我们需要写那个 the level of programming. Okay? Can you write in your notebook? We have 3 types of programming: low, mid, and high. 你写 third check. Low language is like called machine code. Is that too small? I can zoom in. Okay? Is that better?
Yes.
Mid is assembly. Assembly code 我们也学过. Okay? It uses 一边 Artinger, 一边英文, like MOV and things like that. And then high level is like Python, C++, Java. You need to be able to identify the different types of programming language. Okay? You can easily understand Python machine code, because with machine code is either binary, or what can it be there, Wendy? Machine code can either be binary 还是什么? Or it can be hexadecimal. Like FF. Okay? All the code will be converted usually into hexadecimal. Hexadecimal for a computer is 一模一样 to Artinger. Okay? This is called hex. It has no English. 对不对? 没有英文. And so, no English. And so you know, if you see code that looks like this, 我们一定 we know it's machine code. Assembly is called mid-level code. And it looks like this. What does assembly code look like? For example, move And then right here we have B101. If you see this on the test, will we have assembly code? 有没有? Will we have the assembly code on the test? Yes, paper 1 has assembly code. And this is called abbreviation for move. David, this is actually 英文. It means MOV. What does MOV mean there, class? It means to, what does move mean? Yeah, it means to change something. 对不对? To 变, to move into a 不一样的地方, right? To change them. And so, if you see half English, and we have some Ardinger or Shilildinger, we know it's called mid, 中的. And then the last type of code is Python. Wendy, what does Python look like? How do I know a code is high level code?
Pure English or something like the numbers that.
Yeah, it looks like native English. If it has a 如果, rugal x is greater than y, else, these kind of commands, these are high. Now, why would I want to use the different coding? 为什么我们有三种? Can I program in Ardinger? 可以, I can program in Ardinger. Can I program in assembly? 我会, I can also do that. Can I program in Python? 都可以. 但是 if I program in Ardinger, 有点难. Why? Why do we have 三种? Who can tell me? 为什么? We have 很难 called machine code, and then 有点难, and then 真难. Why do we have 三种的 language? Who can tell me? You can structure this if you want to have a chat. What is your 想法? Why do we have 三种? Why do we have 3 types?
Because we need a type of languages that the computer can understand, and one type of the languages that we can understand, like we can go coding the computer, something like that. And there's also the important one that's integral, is that both computer and people can understand, like the bridge. Maybe?
Very, very good. Well, we already know, you said it. Why do we have machine code? Is because computers only understand machine code. 对不对? So why computers understand? We must have the 最简单, 因为电脑 only understand that. Now, for these two, we need to have this thing called a translator. A translator 变那个英文 into Ardinger. Okay? Now, there's 2 names of the translator. Okay? If I have assembly code, 然后 assembly code 变那个 Ardinger, he's given a special name called let me see. It's called assembler. Okay? Assembler. Okay? And it translates the lookup codes for move, and it will change that into Ardinger. Okay? And then we have translator. We have 两种. Translator, for example, if I have high, I also 需要变 into Ardinger. We have 2 types of translators. Okay? 一种, let me just scroll over here. Is everyone with me so far? I didn't lose anyone? I'm a 公交车. Is everyone on? We're going down the road. The translators, we have two types. One is called a compiler. 你写那个单词 okay? Translators, we have 两种. One is called compiler, and the other one is called the interpreter. Okay? This is the two things. I will show you a video about this. Okay? So, we know we need to have machine code because computers only understand Ardinger. Assembly code. Why would I want to have assembly code? Assembly code is good when you're programming hardware. 举个例子, inside the CPU, we have to program CPU use assembly. Okay? So, if you are computer scientist, 你需要会 assembly because you're building hardware. 如果你不会那个 assembly, you cannot program very 厉害. So, assembly, why? Okay? Level 1 is 因为 computers understand. Number 2 is assembly is good for programming. Programming 什么东西 there, Flux? Assembly 你可以 program 什么东西?
Basic instructions.
Instructions for like when you're programming the CPU, 对不对? CPU 会 assembly. When you're programming CPU and the printer, we call this hardware, 硬件. Why do I want to be able to program, use move, LVD? Is because if your program, it's very 厉害 to program hardware. This is the answer. Programming hardware. 举个例子, CPU 是 hardware. RAM 是 hardware. 对不对? If you're programming RAM, you can use assembly. 对不对? If you're programming some small IC, 在 the computer had the small chip hardware. Okay? And it is super fast. If I use assembly language, he can translate 很快 because already we only need to translate 一般是英文，对不对？一般是 Ardinger. So I need to only translate half. And so he can translate faster. Okay? 第三步, why do I have Python? Python 是方便. It's easy to code and debug. Easy to understand. And debug. Debug. Okay? Can you write ER3? Why do we have 三种的 programming? 第一步, the reason we have low level is 因为 computers only understand Ardinger. That's 第一步. 为什么? 第二步, why do we have assembly code? We only have assembly code. Well, assembly code is good for programming hardware, 硬件. 举个例子, when I'm programming CPU, it's better it understands assembly. Okay? Why do I have Python and C++ and Java? 因为 if I use assembly, 有点难去写，有点难去看得懂. It's hard to understand, 对不对? And so I have 三种的 language, ER3. Okay? We're going to看一个小视频 more about the translators, about a compiler interpreter. Do you remember this, Wendy, from 9年级? Do you remember about the 这个三种 from last year? Yes. Okay. So this is a little bit of Fushi, a little review. Do you have the 三个东西写好了 ？What can I 继续做 ？Do you have the other three? Okay. 如果 something is not too clear, you can tell me. For example, I have assembly. Floss, does the computer, does he understand assembly? No. And so I need to call assembler. Assembler is a translator to convert into Artinger. And then it goes, 然后它会. Okay? So this is just show you the level. At the very base level is the CPU hardware, RAM. Machine language is the Artinger. Assembly language, okay? High level language. Like the C Jaja. Okay? Here's the 2PN. Floss. What type of language? Low, medium, or high? 你怎么知道 it's low? It's all numbers. 因为我不会，但是别人会, right? Very good. This low, medium, or high there, Ted?
I think medium.
Yeah, it's 一般. Because he has a little bit of stuff we know, like align and global. That's called assembly. And then, Wendy, what is this? Medium, low, or high?
Hello.
This is high. How do you know it's high?
Like castle words and grammars that a human can understand.
Yeah, it's because it's mostly English. It's easy to understand. Okay? I want you to write 我们有一个单词. Have you ever heard about source code before? Can you copy in your notebook? Source code is more advanced but needs an interpreter. Okay? So source code is basically when you're programming, it's like Python, but you need to have an interpreter for the computer to understand what it is. Okay? And we will be talking about the different things. All right. So I'm going to go down to interpreters. Okay, right here.
So not right.
Source code. Source code is the base code for your program. Called the source code. Okay? It's like high-level programming, but it needs an interpreter.
Oh.
举个例子，Windows, iOS, has a source code. 他们不给我那个 source code because it's closed, right? Because they don't want you to 看得懂. Okay, they won't want you to copy it. So Windows, Linux, they all have a source code, but they don't give me because it's copyright. Okay, let's scroll down here. We're going to 看一个小视频. Let me see here. Interpreter versus compiler. Are you ready? Oh, it's right here. I don't need to click on that. Oh, it'll open here. I found this 小视频 that tells about two types of interpreters.
When you land in the world of computers with their strange, convoluted machine language.
Okay, 我们看一下, okay? 준비好了吗? Can I press play? If you have a laptop, please close. 谢谢. 我们马上做完了. Alright, 准备好了? Can I hit play?
Okay.
In your notebook, I want you to 写两个东西, 因为这个 one is called compiler. 你现在你的 notebook, 然后我们看那个视频, I want you to 写什么 difference between compiler and interpreter. 准备好了 ？Let's 看一下。
Machine language. It's a bit like landing on another planet, whose inhabitants speak an equally strange, convoluted alien language. Getting a mechanic on planet Gobbledygook to repair your spaceship would present the same sort of problem that you have when you want to get a computer to do something. Everything you say has to be translated. And you have a choice between two different sorts of translator. One of them is called an interpreter, and the other is called a compiler. Let's suppose that you've previously written out your list of instructions for the repair of your spaceship. And suppose that you choose the interpreter to do the translating. He reads your first instruction, open lid of rocket engine, translates this into gobbledygook, and immediately passes it on to the mechanic, who executes the instruction. Then the interpreter reads your second instruction, remove spark plug, translates this into gobbledygook, and passes it on to the mechanic, who executes it. And so on and so forth. Now, notice how the interpreter works. He stays with you all the time, and he translates each of your instructions immediately, one by one. This is a rather slow process, because the mechanic has to wait while each instruction is being translated. But, on the other hand, it does give you a chance to correct your mistakes as you go along. If the mechanic removes the wrong spark plug, for instance, you'll see this happen right away, and you'll be able to change your instruction accordingly. Compare this with the way the second sort of translator, the compiler, goes about his work. He takes your complete list of instructions and, without further ado, translates the whole lot straight into gobbledygook. He then hands them back to you and goes away, leaving you all on your own. All this has taken some time, but from now on, things will go very fast. You hand the complete list of gobbledygook to the mechanic, and he executes them all in one go. Bang, bang, bang. There's no waiting about this time. But there's one disadvantage to this, of course. If there was a mistake in your instructions, it's too late now. This analogy comes very close to the way the interpreter and compiler translator programs actually work with computers. An interpreter runs slowly, starts right away, and lets you see how things are going. Whereas a compiler takes extra preparation time before your program can run, but then lets it run very quickly and efficiently. To help you remember the difference between an interpreter and a compiler, look at the words themselves. Inter means between. The interpreter is always between your program and the computer, and it translates line by line. To compile, on the other hand, means to pile together. A compiler piles together your entire program and translates the whole thing all at once. Which one you use on planet Gobbledygook is entirely up to you.
Okay, what is the difference between compiler and interpreter? 什么不一样 ？Compiler, interpreter 是一样的还是不一样？
This is
What is
my
the
team,
difference?
and we get everything done with Monday.com.
The two there.
Sarah is a senior.
Can you tell me? What is different between compiler and interpreter? And then we will, in your notebook, 他说什么我们可以写 okay? 什么不一样 between compiler and interpreter? Wendy, what is, we'll come back. What does the compile mean? Compile. Yeah, you can say in Chinese, that's fine. What does compile mean? Yeah. Compile means put all the code, translate it, and 做. Okay? Python is a compiler, right? It takes the code, and then when I hit run, it runs it. It also checks the line, okay? And an interpreter does it line by line as well, okay? So interpreter looks, but it does it. You can debug it easier. Okay, if there's a tool you can click at. But with a compiler, if I hit run on Python, it's going to run the whole code. It doesn't give me time to fix any problem. It'll just say, oh, your tool. Okay? And so some programs have two. Python can do both, compiling and interpreting. Okay? But you guys need to understand the 想法. It's all translating the English into our language. It's okay? And then we should know the difference between that. Okay? So, compiler. 我们需要写 compile, what does this do? 我们需要写 compile, 它干什么?
Run quickly.
It runs fast. 对. This is slower. 但是 it allows you to debug. Allow to debug. Do you know what debug means? 你听说 debug? Debug 是什么东西 ？Yeah. Debug 是如果你的 code 有偷 ，bug 是偷，对不对 ？So debug means if it will do one line, oh, it's okay. The next, and then it does line by line. Okay. What else? Compilers create object code file. Okay. Program execute fast. A compiler is a program that converts instructions of high level into machine code. So a compiler is Python. The Jubilees is Python, okay? And it does it all at one time. Okay? It does all at once. Okay, 你可以写. Interpreter is a program that converts one statement. It's 一行一行. Slower. It does line by line. 一行一行. Okay? It does line by line. Interpreters does not create object code file. This has object code file. 你可以写 it has object. C 加加有那个 object file, 对不对? If you did the C 加加 object code file. And this it's a little bit slower. Okay, so if you can, 你需要知识背出来 compiler 放所有的 code 放在一起 translates it into our language 很快 It does everything all at once. It's not the best for debug. It has an object code file. Interpreter 有点难，但是 it's good for fixing problem. 如果有错误你可以改 It does line by line. Okay? Here's the on a culture. This is Jubilees. State one reason why high-level language are partially compiled and partially interpreted. Jubilees Python. Python 也是一行一行. Python does interpreting and compiling. Why would this be beneficial? Flaws. What is good about compiling 还有 interpreting? What would this be 放两个想法放在一起? Why would this be a good idea? Yes, we can debug, that's the interpreting part. And we can also go faster when we're doing compiling. Okay, this is even, so this is just a Jubilees, this is from last year's 考试. 他们有 high language, and then it says compile. So 你看那个, 你需要知道 compile, compiling is run fast. And then interpreting is good for fixing the code. So you can say we can debug the code, or it's easy to fix, okay? And then you get even on the 考试. Okay? IDE. Have you heard about IDE? IDE is when you open up Python or you open up Arduino, it has this kind of window. This is actually a program. Agree or disagree? And this program will then have a compiler and interpreter embedded. And this will go into Artinger. What does integrated development environments help me with? Well, it has color. If it has a mistake, it will 变红，对不对? If it's a keyword like void or print, it's like purple, right? And so IDEs help me in several ways. For example, it allows me, I can do checking of my lines, 一行, 二行, 三行, right? It also does, it's called pretty texting, okay? It breaks the code into blocks. This is called a block of code, okay? So IDE, if you see on the test that IDE is just like Python and it helps me with different things, okay? It's called pretty print. For example, when I change the color, it's called pretty print. 变颜色, I can expand or collapse. Okay? So that's it. Okay? I'm going to ask one question and then your guys' schoolwork. You can 打开 your 电脑 is 4点1. Okay? So if we just go at it here, please open up your computers now. And what I want you to do is click on 4.1. 4.1, there's 5个问题. So如果你会这个今天的课, you can type the 答案. For example, I'm going to ask Ched. Why can't computers understand high-level language? Do computers understand English?
No,
为什么? Why?
because that is low
Because they only understand, hear it,
Python.
they only understand low-level language like Artinger. Very good. So you guys can just sit, use your computer. If you haven't finished the vocabulary, make sure you do that. I think, Floss, you need to do the vocabulary as well, okay? So, tonight you have 4 point and then 4.1. 4.1 is 今天的 homework, okay? Question number 2. List one example of high, mid, low level language. Wendy. List high, mid, and low level language.
Low level machine code,
Okay.
low level assembly,
Yeah.
high level.
There we go. Easy. Okay, I'll let you guys work. If you need me to help you, I will come. And then I will just have a look at today's note. I want to make sure that you have written the triangle about the 3 different levels of code, why we use those codes, and the difference between compiler and interpreter. Okay?
Why I cannot type in here?
We'll finish that. You have to fuji, you have to copy. So let me just. Yeah. Oh no. What happened? Did I not hit record? Oh no. Stop recording.